So I want to talk about the dichotomy between liberals versus conservatives. Now, I had a class, but I mean, even if you didn't have the class, but I had this class in college, and it tried to pinpoint what a definition of a liberal was and what a definition of a conservative was, and there was no universal definition for them. But essentially, what they concluded was that conservatives want to keep things the same, and liberals want things to change. That's a really oversimplified definition. People can define it however they want to, but in terms of actually have a real conversation, we have to define our terms. So imagine no liberals. I saw this little meme here, and then there's a response to it, and I want to pinpoint that because liberals versus conservatives. Conservatives like where things are; they want to keep things the same. Liberals says it's time for change. So somebody wrote, hey, imagine if there was no liberals. We would have a world without diversity training, right? Diversity training. Who wants diversity? Gay marriage, abortion on demand, gun control, environmental wackos, anti-American war protesters, right? Dissent is the greatest asset. The United Nations, because I mean, are we a free country or are we not a free country? We're fighting for freedom and democracy, but we don't have freedom and democracy here. The United Nations, which was created after Hitler tried to take over everybody, right? The United Nations is to prevent one country from invading another country. That's the only point for the United Nations. And it's also a forum for the world community. France. Oh, you wouldn't have a whole fucking country of France. And you know who, like, there's so much French influence. Like, Louisville is named after King Louis. The French were the first ones that actually started to colonize the Americas. Illegal aliens. Illegal aliens, okay. Without liberals, we wouldn't have illegal aliens. NEA, the National Education Administration. Multiculturalism. Oh, multiculturalism. There's only one culture, and it's psychopathic. Shut your damn mouth, boy. Love it or leave it. I clean my house because I love it, not because I hate it. The NOW, National Organization of Women. The New Age Movement. Hippies, all peace, love, freedom. That's Jesus. A long-haired hippie walking around, a long-haired hippie walking around talking about freedom and love and caring about your neighbor and, even loving your enemy. Loving your enemy. Hippies. Right? Tax increases. Body piercing. Hollywood celebs. Oh, you wouldn't have celebrities from Hollywood if you had no liberals. Right? There's actually Sniper, right? Didn't the Sniper movie, wasn't that made by a Hollywood? Well, I guess that's not a liberal, right? So let's see. Michael Moore, Rosie O'Donnell, Barbara Streisand, Greenpeace, Sierra Club, fuck the environment, right? AARP, organization to help old people. Amnesty International, people that help, help people get peace. ACLU, people who fight for free speech. San Francisco, an entire fucking city. He's talking about getting rid of a fucking country and city. Look at all this shit he wants to get rid of. Hybrid automobiles. He wants to keep on just fucking burning the fossil fuels. Fuck electric cars. MoveOn.org. Nah, let's not move on. Let's just move. Let's stay put.org. Earth First. Fuck Earth First. Howard Dean, Hillary Clinton, Democratic National Committee, Planned Parenthood, Rock the Vote, MTV, Ted Kennedy. Jesus Christ, okay? So whoever fucking looked at this meme was like, yeah, fuck them damn liberals. Look at all the shit that they're doing. Half that shit is like good stuff. And he's just like, fuck the people, fuck the countries, fuck peace, fuck love, fuck, freedom of speech. Like, give me a fucking break. So, and in fact, actually, the words have crisscrossed throughout, time. Abraham Lincoln was a liberal Republican. He wanted to change things. He abolished slavery, right? That's a liberal. Liberals, Medicaid, Medicare, they change things. Social Security, they change things. But liberal, when people talk about the Washington Consensus throughout the world, that is a neoliberal idea. The idea is that liberal democracies have prevailed, so now we have an end of history. So that's neoliberalism. the idea of capitalist democracies. We vote for our representatives, they get the power, and then they kiss ass to the corporations. So liberal democracy, so the terms need to be defined, because political science are sitting there saying neoliberals are essentially your imperialistic, people who are, getting democracy and capitalism instituted in all the different countries. That would be a conservative in, traditional parlance. So anyways, that's what they say. Imagine there's no liberals, right? That this all this bad stuff, environmental wackos, gay marriage, right? Fuck the gays, fuck diversity, fuck multiculturalism, fuck education, the NEA, illegal aliens. Every person in this country is an illegal alien. National Organization of Women, women's rights, fuck women's rights, New Age movement, hippies. Almost want to write some of this stuff down. New Age movement, what's New Age movement? I need to check that out. That sounds fucking cool. New Age. It's the age of Aquarius. All right, so this is a conservative perspective, right? Fuck all these liberals, all these liberal things is just what's killing our country. MTV, rock the vote, no voting. You don't even want to fucking vote now. Just flat out Nazi fascism, right? That's what this fucking person who authored this was talking about. So let's take a look at what would have happened if we had no liberals. There's a pretty good little list here. So, if we had no liberals, let's see, the 40-hour work week, weekends, this is what unions have gotten us, right? End of child labor, vacations, women's voting rights, the civil rights of 1964, the right of people of all colors to use schools and facilities, public schools, child labor laws, the right to unionize, healthcare benefits, national parks, national forests, interstate highway system, the GI Bill, labor laws, workers' rights, the Marshall Plan, the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, direct elections of senators by the people, right? Because we got the Electoral College. Well, conservatives, let's keep the Electoral College. We need change. I mean, seriously. But the direct election of senators by the people, Occupational Safety and Health Administration, Workplace Safety Laws, Social Security, NASA, exploring space. Oh, look at these damn liberals wanting to explore space. The Office of Congressional Ethics, the Internet, National Weather Service, the Internet, that's fucking revolutionized the entire world. Product labeling, truth in advertising laws, rural electrification, Tennessee Valley Authority, the Moral Land Grant Act, the public universities, bank deposit insurance, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Consumer Product Safety Commission, public broadcasting, Educational Television, Americans with Disabilities Act, Family and Medical Leave Act, Environmental Protection Agency, Clean Air Act, Clean Water Act, the USDA, public libraries, Transcontinental Railroad and the rail system in general, Civilian Conservation Corps, Panama Canal, Hoover Dam, the Federal Reserve, Medicare, the United States military, FBI, CIA, local and state police departments, fire departments, veterans, medical care, food stamps, Federal Housing Administration, extending voting rights to 18-year-olds, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, separation of church and state, right to due process, freedom of the press, right to organize and protest, Pell Grants and other financial aid to students, Federal Aviation Administration, airline safety regulations, the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendments, unemployment benefits, women's health services, Smithsonian Institute, Head Start, AmeriCorps, Mine Safety and Health Administration, food labeling, WIC, Peace Corps, United Nations, World Health Organization, nuclear treaties, Lincoln Tunnel, sulfur emissions cap and trade to eliminate acid rain, earned income tax credit, the banning of lead and consumer products, National Institute of Health, garbage pickup, clean streets, banning of CFCs, Erie Canal, Medicaid, TARP, bailout of the American auto industry, Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act, wildlife protection, end of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, established a basis for universal human rights by writing the Declaration of Independence, Miranda rights, banning of torture, the right to a proper defense in court, an independent judiciary, the right to vote, fair, open, and honest elections, the right to bear arms, health care for children and pregnant women, a stable and strong government established by the Constitution, the founding of the United States of America, the defeat of the Nazis and victory in World War II, paramedics, the Brady Handgun Act, the Glass-Steagall Act, oil regulation, industry regulations. The Affordable Care Act makes insurance companies more honest and fair. Women's right to choose. Title IX, affirmative action, and national currency. National Science Foundation, weights and measure standards, vehicle safety standards, NATO, the income tax and power to tax in general, which have been used to pay for much of this list. 911, emergency systems, tsunami, hurricane, tornado, earthquake warning systems, public transportation, the Freedom of Information Act, Emancipation Proclamation, antitrust legislation, which prevents corporate monopolies, water treatment centers and sewage systems, the Meat Inspection Act, the Pure Food and Drug Act, the Bretton Woods System, the International Monetary Fund, SEC, which regulates Wall Street, National Endowment for the Arts, campaign finance laws, federal crop insurance, the United States Housing Authority, soil conservation, the School Lunch Act, mental retardation facilities and community mental health centers construction act, Vaccination Assistance Act. Over the course of nearly 50 years, liberals contributed greatly to the eventual end of the Cold War, the creation of the counterinsurgency forces such as the Navy SEALs and Green Berets, Voting Rights Act, Civil Rights Act of 1968, Job Corps, Elementary and Secondary Education Act of 1965, Teacher Corps, National Endowment for the Humanities, Endangered Species Preservation Act of 1966, National Trail System Act of 1968, U.S. Postal Service, Title X, kept the Union together through Civil War and rebuilt the South afterwards. Modern civilization. Without liberals, we wouldn't have fucking modern civilization. You know? So, when I think about the conservative argument, there is like the Ayn Rand people, right? The Ayn Rand people, they're sitting there saying that because people, you know, the movers and shakers, the so-called job creators, they have to be able to do whatever the fuck they want to do to keep the idea, to have the beauty of the idea and to have it all structured, you know, nice, perfect, structured, nice organization. And I get that. I understand that, to be honest with you. So I believe that we have a fair society where basic needs are met, which would be guaranteed through a graduated or a guaranteed minimum income, like Switzerland. Everybody gets $10,000. That eliminates poverty. That makes to where every American individual will have a right to life. So once we have a right to life, once we have a right to live, once our basic human necessities are met, then capitalism, then you go out and hustle, then you make, you know, something bigger and better. If you don't, you know, if you're not happy with just your low station in life, $10,000 a year isn't much. That isn't going to help much of anything. But with a guaranteed minimum income, you get away, you know, you get out of the inefficient programs. You have this program, that social program, this social program, and so much bureaucracy, so much corruption. Just, you know, in Kentucky, we have 41 jailers who get paid, and there's no jails. We don't need those people. We don't need them. They're not doing a goddamn thing except for taking tax dollars. That's corruption. Lots of money are being funneled out through corrupt organizations. There's an article that said that construction projects and the police forces in Kentucky are the most corrupt organizations in Kentucky. Cut out the corruption, we save tax dollars. You know, are conservatives for the corruption? They want to keep the corruption. Let's keep the corruption. Let's keep the bloated bureaucracy. No. So, you know, you guarantee people's basic lives, and then if they want to get out and hustle and then make something bigger and better, then they could go out and do that. That is, that's a good system. That's a capitalist, socialist system. So you guarantee people's life, but you don't guarantee, you know, their wealth. You guarantee their basic essential necessities, and if they want to go out, they go out and hustle, and they become rich if they want to try to get, you know, become rich. So the whole dichotomy actually between conservatives and liberals is not being adequately represented by the Democrat and Republican parties. The Democrats act like fucking Republicans. You know, what liberals, you know, Barack Obama even said that the liberals need to stand up and take their licks. That's the argument against the liberals, is that they don't namby-pambies, right? They're weak-kneed, you know, fucking whatever. And so liberals need to stand up and take their licks. And that is what needs to happen. But the dichotomy between liberal versus conservative, which has been an argument, you know, since the beginning of time. Do we want to keep the system as is? just keep things going on the way that they're working on, or do we want to change it? And so it's that sort of dance, that sort of balance, in flux. It's always in flux. Do we keep good things, change it to the better? I don't see, when I said I clean my house, that's a response to the love it or leave it. Could you imagine? I clean my house because I love it, not because I hate it. So, but could you imagine? Just, fuck it. Let's just have a big dirty ass fucking place. Let's just keep the fucking filth and the grime and all the fucking bullshit, dirty laundry, dirty dishes. Who gives a shit? Love it or leave it, motherfucker. Just love it or leave it. No, let's maintain and let's progress, okay? You clean your house because you love it, not because you hate it. So the argument, the liberal versus conservative, dichotomy between Republicans and Democrats is a fake one. And I'm going to show you right now. Obama is a conservative. Obama's kept corporations, very strong. He's been giving them a fucking break. He's done he's a little bit liberal, but I would say for the most part, the imperialism, the empire, the wars of conquest, the drone strike programs, there's a lot of things that Barack Obama has continued to do that the previous administration, people say is conservative, has kept on doing. And so I'm going to show you how he's a conservative by the response of the socialist, Kshama Sawant, to Obama's State of the Union address. And I'm just going to read it verbatim. Sisters and brothers, 6 years ago, Obama was elected on the hope that he would represent millions, not the millionaires. When Obama delivered his first State of the Union address, Democrats occupied majorities in both the House and the Senate. Today, after massive disappointment, disillusionment for the American people, he faces Republican majorities in both branches of Congress. 6 years later, with millions of Americans finally get the president they voted for. Some of the proposals Obama made tonight point in the right direction. Taxing the rich, providing free community college education, paid sick and maternity leave, and municipal broadband. But how does Obama plan to overcome the inevitable Republican obstruction? How will Obama get any serious measure to tax the wealthy or against climate change past the entrenched and undemocratic power of Wall Street and big business? There is no answer to this from Obama. He talked about the economic recovery, but the truth is, for the vast majority of us, this has been a joyless recovery. Americans face the highest levels of inequality in almost a century. Under Obama, the gap between rich and poor has only widened, but the last 2 years have seen the shaping of the kind of forces that can reverse this stunning inequality. The historic grassroots movements for $15 hour minimum wage by heroic low-wage workers taking strike action. And we won $15 minimum wage in Seattle, the first major city to do so, by building a movement of low-paid workers together with unions, community organizations, 15 Now, others. Critical for $15 in Seattle was the election of an independent working class candidate who boldly championed it, which forced the political and business establishment to reluctantly make a concession on this issue. In contrast, Republican and Democratic politicians, rather than fighting to raise the minimum wage as we did, have instead been taking donations from the same fast food companies that workers are striking against. Obama's pushing international trade agreements undermine environmental and labor standards that will further fuel inequality and environmental destruction. This year also saw a $15 ballot initiative passed by a huge margin in San Francisco, and statewide ballot initiatives to raise the minimum wage passed by supermajorities, including Republican-dominated states. Our task is clear. We need to continue to build this movement in democratic organizations like 15 Now to make 2015 the year we win 15 across the nation. Obama spoke about helping the middle class. He spoke about housing issues. Yet while cities like Seattle have to deal with astronomical rent increases and gentrification, we are simultaneously facing cuts to federal funding for low-income housing. Here in Seattle, I, along with public housing tenants and community activists, just led a successful battle to stop a 400% rent hike for low-income housing in Seattle. I hope this example of resistance and struggle can spread nationally where other cities are confronted with similar attacks. Socialist alternatives, tenants, and I are campaigning for emergency measures like rent control to address this spiraling crisis. But emergency measures will not be enough. The so-called free market has miserably failed to provide affordable housing. We need urgent public investment to build new affordable housing for working families. I am working on a plan for the Seattle city government to build thousands of high quality publicity owned houses at rent at below market rates. But to win any of this, tenants and homeowners need to build their own housing justice movement, acting locally but connecting nationally. Obama's pledge to say no to Keystone XL and to cap methane emissions are necessary first steps. But let's be clear, he has utterly failed to take on the power of the 90 companies who are responsible for almost 2/3 of the climate emissions in history. Instead, he brags about being the fracking president. As Naomi Klein said, this is about capitalism versus the climate. We need to act here and now, but we can only deal with climate change if we break the power of the giant oil and car companies who are determined to extract every drop of oil from the ground. Addressing climate change means organizing society around the interests of the 99% rather than around profits and fiercely competing nation states. We need a democratic socialist society based on international cooperation. Real progress is only won by millions stepping into action. We saw that with the tremendous People's Climate March, which had 500,000 people rallying in New York City. We need to take this forward and demand concrete action. In Seattle, we are pushing forward to ban oil and coal trains from passing through the city. Last year, we saw the beginning of the most important movement against racial injustice in decades. Every 28 hours, a black person is killed by police or vigilantes in this country. We live in an age of mass black incarceration, the age of unindicted, unprosecuted, widespread police brutality against black people. This is the age of economic racism, where the average income of a black person is 1/3 less than a white person. After hundreds of thousands of black workers and youth campaign to elect Obama, he has provided no vision to address racism in our society. Why can't Barack Obama say Black Lives Matter? Black people, people of color, indigenous people deserve action. They deserve action now. For full prosecution of all acts of police brutality like those against Mike Brown and Eric Garner. For an end to economic racism, for $15 an hour minimum wage nationally, to finally address the gaping income inequalities that define race and gender in the U.S. The Republicans elected in the midterms last fall would like to think that they have a public mandate. Nothing could be further from the truth. The pro-corporate right-wing agenda of the Republicans is being roundly rejected in poll after poll. This is also evident with the many progressive voter initiatives that passed in the same election that gave Republicans their majority. The only reason Republicans won is that working people, youth, and people of color are deeply disappointed after years of the Democrats doing the bidding of corporations. This is why millions stayed home with the lowest voter turnout since the Second World War. Is Obama now prepared to challenge Republicans in big business? I fear not. Unfortunately, the financial aristocracy that funded Obama's election campaigns and promoted him to the presidency have their tentacles firmly wedded into every nook and cranny of the White House. Let us not forget Obama has carried out unprecedented, unconstitutional spying, drone strikes, and a ferocious crackdown on brave whistleblowers like Edward Snowden and Chelsea Manning. This is why independent working class challengers will be needed. Candidates who refuse corporate donations, who are financially and politically independent of big business and the two parties. We need to build our own political voice, a mass political party for working people. Despite Obama's speech today, bitter experience has shown we cannot rely on him to deliver. We must work to build independent movements of working class people, of young people, of women and people of color, and the LGBTQ community, to fight towards affordable cities, health care, and education for all, towards a society based on economic justice, equal rights, compassion, and an end to racism, to challenge the domination of the 1%. Solidarity. That's what a liberal sounds like. So, you know, the Rush Limbaughs and the fucking Hannitys and all them, they're just a bunch of political hacks. The Republican Party is the greatest fucking party ever, right? But if you was to ask a Republican today if they would have wanted to free the slaves, this is not the party of Lincoln. This is not the party of Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln was a liberal. So, you know, part of me thinks that maybe he's a moderate pragmatist. You know, when everybody hates the guy, maybe he is the one that's in the middle. But to say that he's a socialist, to say that he's a Marxist, to say that he's a liberal, is that's just not the truth. It's just not the case. And so the Republicans and the Democrats, you know, that's why the whole country hates them. They have, what, a 10% approval rate? Congress has one of the lowest approval rates, you know, in history. People hate the Congress. They are not fucking doing their jobs. They're not doing anything for the people. And the two-party system, I mean, it's corrupt and it's fucked. And so I see a world where we do have a vibrant debate between your Ayn Rand people and between your socialists. That's your conservative liberal dichotomy. What they're doing, they're a bunch of corporate fucking hacks, bunch of imperializing, drone striking, NSA wiretapping, pieces of shit. And so, Obama's not a fucking liberal. and yeah, and I guess that's it. So, we can do better than what we're seeing now. I actually imagine someone was talking about Citizens United, which is political campaigns can, millionaires can donate as much as they want to political campaigns. And so the moneyed interest, are being represented. Mitch McConnell didn't run on what he accomplished at all. Just, hey, at least I'm not a nigger lover. That's what Mitch McConnell ran on. Allison Lundigan Grimes ran to the right. She was pro-coal, pro-gun, and I'm not actually against those issues. The pro-coal, I'm for the coal being Kentucky's coal for the working class people so that their unions are, strong, and so that the coal is actually making the communities that the coal is coming from wealthy. But we don't see that. We're taking our coal and we're shipping it to the Pennsylvania Power and Light. Pennsylvania Power and Light is a Pennsylvania company. And the headquarters, the corporate headquarters is what's making all the money. Is all the profits is going to a Pennsylvania CEO. This is Kentucky Utilities that is owned by Pennsylvanians. So I'm for, coal. That's just a fucking rock or whatever, right? I'm for I'm for coal keeping and staying in Kentucky, and for our electricity rates going down, and for the unions being strengthened and being, having strong solidarity, and for us to benefit, we, the Kentucky people, to benefit, so that this will be a common wealth instead of a common poverty. So, that's Allison runs to the right. She also was against amnesty for, Mexicans. I will never be for amnesty for Mexicans. So she went racist. She went full-on racist. She ran to the right. She didn't stand up as a progressive. She didn't stand up for her liberal values. If she has any, she said she didn't vote. She wouldn't tell us who she voted for. Maybe she voted for John McCain. Maybe she fucking voted for John McCain. And with the viewpoints that she was speaking about, they ran a disastrous campaign, and she got blown out by like 15 percentage points. It was a landslide in political parlance, and that's quite embarrassing. If you can't beat an entrenched Washington corruptionist, an obstructionist piece of shit who's done nothing for Kentucky for 30 fucking years, people need people who they can be inspired to, and they want to go vote for them. A vote for Allison was a vote against Mitch McConnell. It wasn't a vote for her. And so we need progressives, we need liberals to stand up for the issues that they believe in, because people will continue to vote. Republicans have dumb ideas, but they speak about their ideas and they give reasons for them. Liberals run away from their ideas. And so when a voter looks at the two parties, they see one conservative who is speaking, what he believes, even if it's fucking stupid and backwards and wrong, and then they see a fucking, a namby-pamby, limp-dicked fucking liberal who don't say shit, right? Or a fucking Democrat, we'll say that. Socialism is like a cuss word in this country, right? There's only two economic systems, capitalism, socialism. And you read all the liberal things that we got. We have a mixed system. It's not a purely capitalist system. It's not a purely socialist system. So we need to come to grips with that, and then we can learn from all these other countries that are doing socialism and capitalism better than us. And so, liberals need to stand up for their liberal ideas, if they have any. Perhaps, maybe these fucking Democrats are conservatives. Maybe they're all fucking Republicans. They started out wanting to change the world and shit, but got all that damn money. And what did we get? $100 million was spent on the Senate campaign in Kentucky. And we got a whole host of issues, a whole host of problems that need solutions. Nobody's talking about what the problems are. Nobody's talking about what the solutions are. It's just a big old mudslinging fest. And if we truly care about progressing our state into the 21st century, I want an orgy of ideas. I I want to see an orgy of ideas. I want to see all the ideas on the table. I want to see the Greens, and I want to see the Libertarians, and the Know Nothings, and the the Peace and Freedom Party, and every political party out there having a seat at the table, and then we discussing all the ideas, and then we determining which ideas are best, and then we go with the best ideas. And the great pool of ideas, the best ideas should succeed. So, let's have a better conversation. Let's talk more honest about what it is we're confronted with this nation. We are the United States of America. You know? The beacon for the rest of the world. To just be so myopic and closed-minded about shit, the best ideas should prevail in the great pool of ideas.